Holy frickin' crap, everybody. It's me, Monster Mack, and can you believe it? We got another podcast for you. And sitting on the side of me, as always, looking very comfortable, it's Trainee number one. Say hello to the people, Trainee.
Hello, everybody. We are here live once again on the Mackcast. I said live, but it's not really live because we're on iTunes and Stitcher, and it's probably going to take about, 24 hours for this to get up online. But we are here once again in Levesque's Log Cabin Studios. That's the official name of this place. I think we're going to put a little sign on the door, bring it every time we show up. We're with Scott Levesque here and Trevor Cabral, ladies and gentlemen. He's back from Florida.
We actually found him. We had the search team out there looking for him. We had many tips on the internets, and we actually found him. We brought him back. Trevor's here live, not really, in the log cabin. But, Trevor, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're back.
Hopefully Trevor adds some of his insight during the podcast. Scott Levesque's pointing at you because he knows you should too. But we are here once again with Dan Strikes. But before we get into the Dan conversation, I want to let you know that the 6th annual RWA Legacy is going to be at the Varnum Memorial Armory in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, 7 p.m. bell time, and it's a benefit for the Autism Project, the Rhode Island Food Bank, and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. At that show, you can see J.T. Dunn, Shakara's Gran Akuma, Davey Cash, Mike Grassa, The Movement, The Influence, us, Mac, me and you, Team Mac Attack, The Epidemic, Mike Montero, Chris Cruz, Devin Blaze, Tommy Trainwreck, Chris Pyro, Billy Ware, and many, many more. Tickets are $5 for kids 12 and under and $10 for adults. Come check it out. Support a good cause. Come support Mac Attack. Maybe buy some of our T-shirts.
Also, I'd like to mention that this Maccast is brought to you by MonsterMac.net. For all your Monster Mac needs, you can go there, check it out. We got some new videos up. The Monster Mac Show is presenting you with new episodes every once in a while. We got awesome.
Every once in a while, I like that.
We got awesome, great stuff up there, so you can check out MonsterMac.net. But in the log cabin, he's here for a second time. The first time, it didn't work out so well. We had some technical difficulties, but we got Dan Strikes in the log cabin. What's up, Dan?
What's going on?
How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Are you ready to podcast? Because I am, sir.
I am ready.
Oh, he's ready, Trainee number one.
Sounds ready, Mac.
Now, Dan, I would like to just kick it off straight up. As a child, when did you get into wrestling? Not at all? Maybe.
Actually, I think me and my cousin, Tony, a.k.a. Scott Levesque, I think we got into it around the same time. Maybe 4? No? Is that right? Sound about right?
What do you mean,
yeah, I'd say about
4 years old?
Yes. And I idolized Randy Savage.
Ah.
And, of course...
That's a Scott Levesque favorite as well.
Yeah, because of me, actually.
Oh, really? Because of
even
you.
though my cousin was older than me, he was born in January, and I was born in July.
I don't know,
So he was about 6 months older than me.
You know, Scott
and
Levesque...
I think he still might be. But anyway, for some reason, he was older, but he still, looked up to me. I was kind of like his idol growing up. I'm not sure why.
No, Dan Strikes.
Because I remember one time in the summer, I shaved my head for no reason at all.
Yeah.
And then, 2 weeks later, when I saw him, he came over my house, and he had his head shaved as well. And his mother even said to my mom, "Oh, he wants to be like Danny." Is that not true? Why would you shave your head?
Now, I do have the fact checker. He's sitting on the side of me, all right? I just want to let you know he is in the log cabin because it is his log cabin. So any of the bullshit that you're coming up with, I can just ask him. But Scott, he's giving me the okay. I believe that is true. He did shave his head. But so you're a big Randy Savage fan at the time, growing up, 4 years old. You guys are both in the business now. Pretty much, where did it all first start? How did you realize that, hey, maybe I could get in that ring and compete?
You know, it's weird because when I was younger, it never actually occurred to me that, a regular person could become a professional wrestler. I thought, for some reason, I thought, they were born because they looked like...
They're just born into wrestling?
Yeah, they looked like Greek gods. They didn't look like normal people. They had, these bulging muscles. And
I see.
I had never seen anybody in person like them, so I figured they were like different species almost.
Before we go any further, Dan, I just want to say that you are holding both your pinkies out in such elegance while you're drinking that beer and holding that microphone. I just wanted to throw that out there. Continue along with that conversation, fellas.
So you realize that the wrestlers are not born into the business. Now, did you always have that fantastic body that you have today, or?
No, I did not. I believe I started when I was about right before I started high school. I believe I was like 13. My uncle had like this old weight bench set with like, you know, the plastic bar and the plastic weights with the sand in them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just started like working out with those.
Trevor Cabral to this day still works out with them sand weights. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, but it's tough though because a lot of them, like, they're not all like the same weight, so it kind of
Yeah.
because you know they like lose sand like rather easily, and then
But you worked through it and you got jacked.
yeah, and I bought one of those curling bars, and I, you know, threw like the plastic weights on those, and because I remember I played freshman football, my freshman year in high school, and I was like, it was probably like me and like two other kids were like the only ones that like were actually in shape.
So you didn't
So I started
necessarily
pretty
get
early.
in shape for wrestling?
No,
but
no, not at all, not at all.
I see. So when did the whole wrestling thing come about?
You know, I was a big fan of it growing up.
I was just going to say, Dan, what's your favorite era of wrestling?
I'd say the 80s because I actually I haven't been interested in it like throughout, you know, all these years. I was into it like maybe when I was 4, which was about 1985, and like I said, Randy Savage was my idol, and I remember he lost a retirement match to Ultimate Warrior, and I was like, screw this, because I only watched wrestling for Randy Savage. If Randy Savage never existed, I never would have cared about wrestling. And then he lost like a retirement match, so I'm like, okay, he's done with wrestling, so I don't care anymore.
And you didn't think like,
Came back 6 months later, Dan.
Yeah, as a commentator. As a
came-
commentator.
No, he
with
came back.
Vince.
Randy Savage lost
The retirement match.
the retirement match in WrestleMania 7, but he came back to wrestle Jake Roberts November of that year.
Oh, wasn't it? Yeah, because I remember that whole deal with the snake and the.
so your timeline's not matching up, Danny boy. Dan Strikes, that's dead air.
I don't know.
my friend.
I don't remember like exactly the times, but I could have sworn when he lost the retirement match, I was bummed. And then I
No,
thought he came back.
That's different than quitting.
No,
not watching wrestling.
No, but he
anymore.
came back. No, but I thought to myself, I'm not going to watch it anymore. Then I could have sworn he came back as a commentator first. Yeah, first he came back as a commentator, so I'm like, okay, I'll watch it.
What was that enough to bring you back into the
Yes,
product?
Yeah, just as long as Randy Savage was
Now,
with the
if
company.
you stopped watching the wrestling, how did you know that he came back as a commentator?
No, just for like a couple, like maybe a few weeks or a month or something, I stopped watching it, and I just happened to turn it on, and I heard his voice, and I was like, oh, psyched. I was like, wow, he's not gone.
Yeah, and when he retired, you didn't think like maybe he's going to WCW? Or...
I didn't even know about WCW, really.
So you were just a WWF kid?
Yeah.
You knew nothing.
I
of
remember
the,
my aunt once bought me some action figures from I think it was NWA at the time. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Maybe it was WCW of like Ric Flair and like Larry Zbyszko, and I'm like, who the hell are these guys? I don't know who they are.
That sounds about right, dude. That's not. Sounds accurate, Dan Trace.
So he was down with the Macho Madness so much. That's all you focused on was the Macho Man.
Yeah, and once he left, like I thought he was gone from wrestling for good. Like I had no idea about like WCW even existed. I don't know. I lost like I guess interest in wrestling, and then I think it was in high school when the whole NWO thing blew up. And I remember tuning in one night, and I saw Macho Man on it. I was like, "Holy crap, this guy is still wrestling!" I had no idea he had been wrestling all those years.
I see. So
if he had been, I'm sure I would have.
should have asked your cousin about it. I'm sure he would have filled you in on the Macho
Yeah,
Man.
because I believe he was still into it during his high school years, and I kind of.
All right. So when did you realize that maybe you could step into the ring? How did that all come about?
You have to ask the same question in the same creepy way, Mac.
It's going down. I want to know that bad, Trainee.
Well, it was my freshman year in college. I was going to Western New England College
Yep.
in Springfield,
Okay.
and I remember.
It's a twist top, Dan. You don't need a bottle opener. It's a twist top, buddy.
And I remember it was. I was thinking about going into criminal justice, become like a cop or a correction officer or something.
Yep.
And then towards like the end of the semester, I don't know, like I wasn't really having a good time, and I was starting to question whether I wanted to go into that field or not. And like right around the time of the final, you know what? I don't really want to do this, so I just went to like the computer lab on campus, and I just started searching for wrestling schools, and like I couldn't really find anything in the New England area. I think I might have found one. I don't know if it was up in Maine or something. I'm
you
not
didn't
sure.
think like maybe Killer Kowalski or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I found that in Malden, but then I like looked it up to see the distance. It was like really far away, and I'm like, and it was like expensive. It was like $3,000. But I just kept searching, looking for other schools, and I think ECW still had the House of Hardcore.
What year was this?
99, end of 99.
Yeah, I think the school might still be open. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought about that. That was whatever, and
How old were you in 1999?
18.
Okay.
So, yeah, I looked into that, and like I kept searching and searching, and there was this one website I came upon that had Yankee Pro Wrestling. I remember it said, New Bedford, Hathaway Road, and I was like, are you serious? Like, how the hell can there be a wrestling school so close to me? And I never knew about it.
Now, where were you staying at the time? Where are you currently living?
I was living
And you
on
also
campus.
didn't know about WCW. So
No,
I'm guessing,
in high school I did.
in high school, I'm saying earlier in life, you didn't know there was a WCW. So it wouldn't shock me that you didn't know there was a wrestling school anywhere close to you.
I didn't know. Tony, did you know? When did you find out about a Yankee Pro Wrestling New Bedford?
His name
Did
is
you know
Scott
about-
Levesque.
Did you know
by the
about it
way.
in high school?
Who this Tony character
No.
you speak of?
You guys didn't
So-
know in high school?
yeah, he
see,
lived
I was
in
going
New
to Yankee
Bedford.
shows as a little kid.
He lived in New Bedford, and he didn't know about it. So
Where did you live, Dan?
I lived in Bristol, Rhode Island.
I see. So not too much of a travel. So is that pretty much you decided to go to check it out, go to Yankee Pro Wrestling?
Yes. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not having any fun here. I'm just gonna, transfer to school back home. So I went to the transferred to the community college in Rhode
So
Island.
instead of taking your final, right?
No, I did finish.
Oh, so you
school,
did
and
take the final?
Yes, and I took all I passed everything, and they
Oh,
transferred
very
over.
nice. But you didn't. You decided not to jump on that. But you decided that you wanted to maybe try out professional wrestling instead.
Yeah, but I was still going to school at the time.
I see.
I just wanted to go home to, give it a shot.
So tell me about your first time going to training.
Before we get to that, Dan, so you find out about Yankee Pro Wrestling. It's located in New Bedford. Your cousin lived in New Bedford, so why wouldn't you ask your cousin hey, there's this Yankee Pro Wrestling school. We're both into wrestling. Let's go check it out together. Because you're a Mark, and you're a big fan of wrestling. Why don't you come with me, and we could get into it together, and for moral support. And why don't you ask your cousin to come with you?
Were you aware that your cousin at the time, Scott Levesque, was wrestling with his buddies? At
No.
the time, he was actually into wrestling.
No,
or
I had no
not?
idea. I don't even remember when was the last time. Because I think we had lost touch by then, right?
You guys broke ties.
High school?
Macho Man's madness
my
wasn't
place?
enough to keep you
How
together.
often?
Every year.
Oh, once a year? Oh, once a year. So what did we do that weekend?
I would come over every summer for the past 19 years. At
Yeah,
this
one
time.
weekend, right? It's not. Like
Yeah,
we
we'd
spent the whole
watch
summer.
wrestling together.
in high school.
I believe so.
Really? 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't remember
He blocked it out, Scott Levesque. He didn't want to remember them
that.
good
Too
memories.
traumatic of a memory.
All right, Dan Strike, tell us about your first time going to top rope training or Yankee Pro Wrestling
it
at
was
the
Yankee
time.
Pro. I called and talked to Joe, and he was like, "Yeah, we're having open tryouts or whatever
I
on
see.
so and so a date, and it's this much money. So you're more than welcome to come out and try out." And I went down there. There wasn't very many guys, maybe a few, and they had some guys there that were already workers. They had Mike Paiva,
Yeah.
Kurt Daniels, Trent McNeely, and maybe Blackheart. I don't know. But, and they just had us run, like a bunch of drills and stuff. And I remember I was all, anxious and stuff, and I was, trying to do my best. And I remember at the end of the, whatever you want to call it, the tryout, they had each guy go in there and, take 30 bumps. And they wanted you to, bump as fast as you can. And I just remember, bumping and getting up all quick and bumping. I was just going as fast
Now,
as I can.
was this your actual first time being in a ring, though?
Yes. Yeah, I remember the first.
So
bump. I
it
was
wasn't. It wasn't like
knocked
a.
the wind out
It
of me.
wasn't like a training. It was like a initial tryout that you were trying out for.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a tryout
I see.
just to see, how whatever you moved or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
But I remember like going all out and like, oh, I really want to make it. I really want to make it. And then at the end of the tryout, Joe's like, oh yeah, you guys all look good. You're all welcome to go to school. It's this much money a month.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was just like a gimmick,
Like
to
a
make
setup
money.
for
Yeah, to
the
make
school.
money. Yeah, he didn't actually say, "Oh yeah, you don't have what it takes. You can't come." He just like took everybody. Like, yeah, I'll take all of your money. It's cool.
Yeah. So pretty much you signed up to the school.
Yes.
And how long did you train for the school before actually getting booked?
I know my first match was in September of 2000. I would say probably 6 months. Because I remember I started training with Sean Candido, and I remember
Who was running the class?
mostly Brickhouse. It was mostly Brickhouse Baker, and sometimes Nick Steele would come and train, and Trent McNeely and Chris
Now,
Blackheart.
the last time we recorded your podcast, you failed to mention that Chris Pyro was in your class. But Chris Pyro
wasn't-
mentioned it a bunch of times during his podcast, Dan Strikes.
But I don't think, like, technically he wasn't really in it. Like, he didn't really, I don't think he, like, ran drills because his father was a ring crew. I guess he was friends with Joe, and
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
part of the ring crew, and I knew Georgie was his kid. But Georgie was, like, really young. I was under the impression he was, like, 12 or something. He was, like, this little chubby kid. Yeah. But, like, he was, like, really short and chubby. And, like, I remember, but he didn't really run the drills with us. He would just, like, come in and, like, in between while we were taking breaks and, like, bump and all this stuff. Like, I didn't really think he was actually, like, enrolled in the class. I thought
I'm going to make sure
I
I tell Chris Pyro you said that.
I thought he was just there hanging out because I thought. Yeah, he was a ring crew kid, and he was really young. He was I thought he was younger, but I think he said he was 14 or something. So I figured you had to be like older to start the class, but obviously Joe didn't care. He's like, yeah, if you can get your parents to sign a waiver and you can give me money, then I'll take you.
You seem to have a very a specific view of Joe Eugenio of just a whole bunch of give me that money.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate of every wrestling promoter.
So Dan Strikes, you go in, you take your 30 bumps. You start training with Brickhouse, Nick Steele occasionally, right?
Yeah, Nick Steele.
You trained
Chris
for how long?
Blackheart,
6 months?
Trent McNeely. I believe it was 6 months. And I think my first match was in September. And I remember I think Sean Candido had his first in the summer. I want to say it was like in July because I remember I was at the show. It was at Kennedy Park. And I was talking to Joe Eugenio. And he's like, oh, Jamie's working today. And I'm like, oh, really? What's he reffing? He's like, no, he's wrestling a show. And then I remember seeing him. He had like his Hardy's, the whole Hardy's deal going on.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like a little like bitter, like, wait, why does he get to work a match yet? And I don't. Like, I was kind of, I don't know, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little.
Why? Did you
I don't
feel
know,
like
because I'm like, wait,
did you
why
feel like you were better at wrestling than him?
No,
or?
but I thought like,
If you didn't think you were better at wrestling than him, then why would you get on the show before him?
no, the thing is,
Oh.
like, I figured if he was ready to have his first match, then
Yeah.
I was too, because I didn't think like, I thought we were like kind of like at the same level. I didn't think he was more advanced than me.
Right.
Like at practice, I don't think he like.
Because you're a natural athlete.
Yeah, I'm a natural athlete, and I was in shape.
It sounds creepy when you say it about you. I'm a natural athlete, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
but I was like already athletic and working out, and he was
Right, yeah, but and
really-
you know who was also a natural Mongo, real natural athlete, played football, all that stuff. You know how he was in the ring, Dan Strikes?
Yeah, he sucked.
I'm just saying, natural
Yeah,
athlete
but he
doesn't
was,
mean that
no,
you're better
he wasn't
at
really
wrestling.
an athlete. He was like a lineman. Football linemen aren't really
He
athletes.
played for the NFL, Dan. You played for high school.
No, but I'm saying like in the NFL, like quarterbacks,
You don't
running
think the
backs.
NFL linemen are in better shape than a high school, whatever you were?
No, because they're like fat.
I guarantee you that guy would plow you over,
Yes,
Dan
he
Strikes.
would.
And
But he's not as.
this is insanity, Dan, that you're
no,
arguing.
he's not
this.
like aesthetic. Like,
How do you know?
They don't look at good.
Are you doing
He had-
NFL
he had-
drills, Dan Strikes? You have no clue what you're talking about.
No, but he had like
Zero
a saggy
clue.
chest and a big stomach. Like he
Z-E-R-O.
didn't look like he was in shape. He was just like a big, bulky guy. Like he didn't look like athletic. Like he wasn't like jacked, and he didn't look like a Greek god like a lot of them do. Like Sting did.
Sting looks like a Greek god.
No, well he did when he was blonde and
Okay, I
he
thought
was
you were talking
juiced and he had the paint.
Danny, let's get off this Mongo tangent. And
Well, he brought him up. I don't know where. What did he have? Like 2 years in the business, then he left Mongo.
How many have you had?
No, I'm just saying that he didn't look very well.
I just remember by the time you were training, I was fooling around the backyards with my friends. And at this time, we found out about Yankee Pro Wrestling. And we were like, hey, let's go. I think they have practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Let's go down. Me, Pat Masters, Bloodstone. Let's go down. Just check it out. Maybe we could like go and train eventually. Just check it out. I know Brickhouse was running the practice. A bunch of dudes were in the ring. And I see this long-haired, big, muscled dude. And I was like, this guy looks familiar. I was like, oh, my God, that's my cousin Danny. So I try to get your attention.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you
gave
came
me,
up to
like-
the ring, you shake my hand. You're like, you're my cousin. You don't know me or something like that. I'm like, he's like, you're like, I'm your cousin Tony. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? And I shook your hand. And we were in the middle of running drills, and it's not like I was still pretty new, so it's not like I could just be like, hey, guys, yeah, I'm going to take 5 and, you know, like I wasn't like at that point where I could do that. I was
So,
still new.
Pretty
and,
much at that time, you erased all memories of Scott Levesque.
No, because he had long hair as well, so I didn't recognize
Are
him.
you claiming that he grew his hair out to match yours? Is that what
No,
you're
no, I'm
claiming?
not claiming that. No.
Because I didn't know that you had long, luxurious
Yes,
hair.
I did.
How long was it?
Pretty like past halfway, maybe around
Yeah, down
halfway
to his
down
ass?
my back. No, not that long, but about halfway down.
All
I'd
right,
say.
so your top rope training, you felt a little jealous.
It was Yankee.
Your Yankee training, you felt a little jealous that Sean Candido got booked before you. When was your time to shine? When was your actual first
My
match?
first match, it was in September of 2000 at the Fisherman's Club in that little rinky-dink ring.
Now, how was your personal feelings? Like, when did you find out that you were actually going to be wrestling that night?
I'm not sure. I would think it was probably a couple weeks ahead because I think Joe was telling me like, oh, you know,
You're looking
you're
good,
getting ready.
kid.
Yeah. We're gonna get ready. We're ready to use you.
So at that time, did you already buy gear? Like,
Yes, I remember. I'm not sure how much gear. I remember I had off of what was it, High Spots. I bought this ugly pair of boots. They were red and black, but the red was like had like that reptile texture to it. They were like really disgusting looking. And I bought these white lightweight tights. And I remember I wore those during my first match. And I remember I came out and there was one guy that was heckling me. He was like, "Hey, you have see-through tights. I can see your underwear." And that like was like really getting to me. And I like wanted to hit him in the face. Like I was so heated. I was like ready to snap. I was like,
Yes.
like I went up to him and I said something to him like.
Were you
I swore
working
at
as a
him.
baby or heel?
No, I was a heel. It was me and Mike Foster. We were heels against Damien Houston and Jonathan. They were both from Maine.
Jonathan, that's Fandango.
Yes, it is.
So your first actual professional wrestling match was against Fandango?
Yes, his gimmick was
who's-
Jonathan at the time.
Who was your tag team partner at the time?
Mike, the Thunder from Down Under.
Oh, Mike Foster. So, like, tell me, do you remember any of your, like, actual feelings? Were you very nervous before your first match? Or
Yeah,
Were you ready to go?
Yeah, I think I was pretty anxious, because like it was my first match, but like I felt ready for it, and I felt like it was time.
Now, you were pretty good build at that time, right? Still in your football shape, or did you build up a little bit?
I don't know. I never felt like I was really like big, like wrestler big, but I felt like
I
I looked better than all the other wrestlers for the most part, except for like maybe Johnny Angel and like there were a couple others because a lot of them weren't even like didn't work out at the time. Like a lot of the South Coast guys, like Johnny Hollywood, like he was older, but
Well, I haven't seen any pictures or anything like that, but I heard you were pretty
Yes.
bulky at the time.
yes, yeah.
Jacked. It was
Because I
the
remember
quote from
Gino
Scott
was
Levesque.
South Coast, and Gino, hadn't started lifting. He didn't start lifting until like years later.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like Kid Crazy and Damian Houston and Zodiac.
So you're in this tag match,
Zanuck.
your first match.
Zanuck.
Is this?
Like the bum?
Yes, yeah. He started training while Johnny Nash started training. I think they rode in together. From
Okay,
New
I just
Hampshire.
wanted to clear that up. Continue.
So you have your first match, right? You felt like it went pretty well.
Yeah, I think there were maybe a couple spots That got screwed up. I remember I went to
Was that on you?
probably. And then I remember this one spot where I went to go gut wrench suplex Damian Houston, because I remember seeing that in the Savage Steamboat match in WrestleMania 3, and I always thought that was pretty badass.
Still,
so I'm like,
still riding that Savage.
I'm gonna gut wrench suplex you.
Very
And I remember
nice.
I did it, and like I made his nose bleed out. I think like my elbow or something like hit his nose. And I remember after the match, he's like, "What the hell? You made me a nosebleed." And I was like, "Oh, sorry about that." But yeah, I think overall it was okay.
So pretty much after that tag match, where did your career lead off in Yankee Pro Wrestling?
Well, I think around that time they had the split.
The South Coast
South
Championship
Coast Yankee
Wrestling
split,
and
yeah.
Yankee
So
Split. I recall.
and I was working for South Coast, and like a
Well-
lot of us younger guys were.
Were you mainly wrestling in New Bedford in their center?
Fisherman's Club, yes, in New Bedford, yeah, and the
What-
Hathaway Road and the PAL.
Am I correct? Was it like split with the Yankee Pro wrestlers wrestled in the PAL and the no? Oh, okay. So they pretty much just ran them venues. I see.
Yeah, I wrestled the PAL Fisherman's Club and the deal at the Hathaway Road.
Do you remember any like favorite highlights of Yankee Pro Wrestling? Some of your favorite matches, perhaps?
I remember I had one match. It was a tag match, and I forgot who I worked. It was like Moondog.
Maximus?
No, I don't know. He had like the tie dye and like bleached blonde hair. He was like a kind of like a stocky guy.
Okay.
I don't know. It was him and someone else. Like they came out wearing like dog chains or whatever, and I forgot who my tag partner was. And this was
So you just don't remember anybody in this match but you, then?
yes.
Okay, continue.
And I remember it was the first time I tried that Savage spot where he grabs the guy by the hair and jumps over the top rope and like clotheslines him off the top rope.
Yeah.
Because I had never done that before. And I remember I did it, and the crowd was like, and I was like so thrilled that I did it, and I just turned to the crowd and I'm like, yeah! And then I like ran back in and went for the cover, and I remember that was like one of my highlights. I was so thrilled that I actually was able to
That you
pull that
actually
off
pulled it
without
off, yeah,
without
without
catching my foot on the top
without
rope and breaking
botching.
my neck
Yeah.
on the apron. or
So how
whatever.
long did you work for Yankee for in that run?
I believe I quit around maybe early 2002. I believe.
Why'd you quit?
I don't know. I think maybe I just lost interest. I think towards the end, I remember I went online and I went to the website for Memphis.
You found porn
no.
for the first time in your life. You were like, screw this wrestling
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I found something better to occupy my time. Screw wrestling. No, but seriously, I went to a Memphis.
Way better use of baby oil.
And I remember I went to this website, Memphis Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
It was actually the minor league for WWF at the time. I think maybe OVW was just starting up or whatever. And I think the guy running it was this guy, Terry Golden.
Okay.
And they said they were having tryouts. So, I called in and, inquired about that and sent in my check. And he's like, yeah, come on down. And I remember
Was there a deposit?
I think I just paid it all up front.
How much was it?
I don't even remember. Maybe $200-300 maybe.
For a tryout?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
And so I had my friend drive me down to Providence, and I hopped on a Greyhound bus and headed towards Memphis.
All the way to Memphis?
Yeah, all the way to Memphis on a Greyhound bus. And I showed up, and I think there were like maybe 4 or 5 other guys. And that guy, Terry Golden, was there with another worker from Memphis. He had like this little hillbilly gimmick. And this was right around the time where WWF purchased WCW.
Okay.
So
yeah.
in like the warehouse, they had 2 WCW rings.
Okay.
And, we were just like working out, running drills or whatever. And I think there was like me and 2 other kids that actually had experience wrestling. And the guy, Terry Golden, was like, okay, so, you guys have some experience. Why don't you guys run, a little tag match and, we'll see how you do. And then, we ran a tag match. Nothing, spectacular, just basic spots. And
As usual.
yeah. And after the match he was like, "Hey, you look good. If you want to come down here and train, I think within a couple of months we'll have you, working matches." And I was all psyched. I'm like, "Hell yeah." yeah, I'm totally interested. And
Now,
I
was it
remember,
like a come down, sign up to the school kind of thing, or you had to like sign up for like a year,
no, he just said,
come down and just come to training?
yeah.
Now, what was your living arrangements then? Because I know you hopped on a Greyhound bus, you went down there. Like, how'd you find a place? Like,
Oh no, I didn't have a place in Memphis. I just took the Greyhound bus down there to go to the tryout, and then I took a Greyhound bus
I see.
back home.
then
It
you
was like
took
a
it
one-day
back home.
thing.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
So I wasn't living down in Memphis. So after the tryout, I went back home, and I think I emailed him maybe a couple weeks later, and I got no response. And I called and got no response, and I went to the website, and it was like not up anymore. So I guess it pretty much defaulted, and I guess OVW was like the main territory. So I was like,
So
I
pretty-
kind of took it as a sign. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't, where my life's gonna go. And so I guess I just kind of lost interest, and I quit.
So where'd you find yourself next after that?
I remember I was just working for my father, and then I think at some point in May 2002, he sold the business, and I was really like didn't know what to do with myself, and so for some reason I got this idea.
So you just decided I'm gonna go spend a bunch of my dad's money. I don't know what to do with myself. My life's in shambles. My dad just sold his business. What could I do to soothe my soul? What did you do, Dan Strikes?
So he sold it in May 2002. I actually didn't see any of the money. The only money I had was the money I'd saved throughout high school.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to say the actual number, Dan, but to save that much money during high school, I feel like there's some sort of under the table kind of arrangement
no,
going
there
on
wasn't.
with Dad.
I was totally on the books. I was 100% on the books. I was definitely overpaid for what I was doing, but yes, I was.
Yeah.
But most
Like
of that was
$18 an
was
hour.
because I was forced to work, because I had quit like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, screw this sucks. And he was like, oh, if you don't work, you're not gonna have a car. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll work because I want to have a car. And so yeah, I continued to work, and I saved up a bunch of money. And after he sold the business, I didn't really know what to do with myself, so I got this idea of moving out to L.A. And I didn't tell anybody till
So you
till
just-
Christmas.
Straight up bounced to L.A. and
Yes.
sent some Christmas cards saying, "Surprise,
no. I
bitches! I'm in
remember-
L.A."
No, actually, I think it was around Thanksgiving. Like I had told them, because I remember we usually didn't pray before dinner, but I remember during our Thanksgiving meal.
Were they praying? Did they not know where you were? Were they praying
No,
that
I
you
was
were
at
okay?
home. I had Thanksgiving with them.
Oh, okay.
And my dad's like, okay, you
They
know
were
what?
praying Dan didn't leave. That's what they were praying. No, Dan, don't go to L.A. No.
No, it's pretty much the whole deal was like, okay, you know what? You're gonna move and you're gonna drive across the country to L.A. Let's pray that you have a safe trip and that you find whatever you're
I
looking
see.
for. And
So you guys had a family moment,
yeah,
and you straight up drove to L.A.
yes, I left.
Tell me, Dan, why? Why'd you drive to L.A.?
I have no idea. I just wanted to.
You're like, L.A. sounds like an awesome place. Let's go. I put about $100 in gas in my car. Let's drive.
Yeah, way more than that. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind
Making that
of
D&D money.
I just kind of got sick of Rhode Island. I felt like there was nothing really there for me anymore. So I just wanted to maybe like try living.
You wanted to live the high life. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
I just wanted to try, living in the city, see what that was like.
It had something to do with the ladies, right? Them
I don't know,
L.A.
not really.
ladies. That's
I thought
that's
about
what
like
attracted you.
going to New York City, but I've always found that place kind of intimidating.
Did you go to any like casting calls when you were out in L.A., Dan? Did you try acting at all? Don't lie to me. I can see it in your eyes, man.
I think like once. I
Don't
went
more
to like
than one.
No, I think I sent out a bunch of headshots to like because in the what is it, LA Weekly or whatever, they have like casting calls or whatever. So I sent out a bunch of headshots, and I think I got like one reply, and they sent me and I went to audition. I think it was like, so I think that was like the only audition I ever had.
So you're out in L.A. What are you doing out there?
But my headshots was taken by the same guy who took Michael Clark Duncan's headshots.
I don't.
That big black guy from Green Mile.
All right, Dan. Thank you for that.
The guy,
No,
the guy who
because you
passed
said
the,
you
the guy who
you
passed
had a
away,
face
right?
like you didn't know who he was.
I know who he is.
Oh,
I didn't
Michael
know
Clark
why
Duncan.
you would randomly.
No,
The
because he
photographer
showed
who took my picture took that
because
guy's
he showed me a
picture, too.
portfolio. He showed me a
Yeah, he was-
portfolio
he
of
was-
people he took in.
Hey, look,
like he
this
was
is
one of
me
them.
with,
He was like that one star that he took
It was
I
just a
don't
bunch of
know.
other people you didn't remember. So you're out in L.A., Dan. You're sending headshots out to everybody. You're getting no auditions, no callbacks. What are you doing out there for money? What are you doing out there for support? How long were you out there for with no job?
Well, I remember I left there at the end of December, and I had, like, on a sheet maybe like 5 numbers for like apartments that, were available. And I drove down there, and I called all those numbers, and all those apartments had been taken except for one. So I was like, okay, I'll come by and look at it. And she said it was a 1-bedroom, but it was really a studio. And I'm like, and it was like some Mexican lady who spoke broken English. And she's like, and I'm like, wait a minute,
the things that Dan Strike says do not reflect on me, Master Mack, Scott Levesque, or Trevor Cabral. If he's going to be a little racist with his stuff, that's on Dan Strikes. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, so anyway, she shows me the apartment, and it's obviously a studio apartment. I'm like, this is a studio apartment. She's like, no, it's a 1-bedroom. I'm like, where is the bedroom? This is it. This is just one room with the kitchen and a bathroom, and that's it. And she's like, okay, well, it's a 1-bedroom, and it's $650, and I had no other option, so I took it. And I actually, shortly after that, I wanted to try bartending, so I went to a bartending school, which was pretty cool. And when I finished that, I went to a bunch of places, put in my resumes to like a couple like rock bars, like the Roxy, Whiskey A Go Go. I thought that would be a good time, bartending at like a rock joint. But I didn't end up getting a job.
So Danny, you uprooted, went to L.A. So at this time you're over wrestling, screw wrestling.
Yes.
You went to Memphis, you tried it out, you had a stint in YPW, you're jacked. Good-looking kid. Why not look into wrestling in L.A., UPW, where John Cena started, where Samoa Joe started, man? Did you look at wrestling schools in L.A.?
No, not at all. I really wasn't interested in wrestling at all. And my time in L.A., it was actually the first time since in high school where I did not lift at all. I remember my first week there, I went to some gym there and tried it out, and it was expensive and really busy and a bunch of bunch of dumb, shallow LA people, and I'm like, you know what, screw this, I'm not into this anymore, and I just stopped lifting.
Now, I know this has nothing to do about wrestling, but did you notice a difference between the people in LA rather than down in this area, the Massachusetts area?
Yeah, they're dicks. They're really shallow and
really shallow. Was things more fast paced? Because I've been down south and everything seems a little bit slower. I was just wondering if maybe LA's fast paced.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like New York.
So
yeah,
where'd you find yourself?
City.
What'd you end up doing for money?
Well, after I couldn't get a bartending job.
Yeah.
I think
that didn't work out for you.
Did not work out at all. And I think maybe in
it's because you stopped hitting them weights. You know what I'm saying? They like that bartender's jacked.
Yeah. And I looked into security. I applied to a couple of security places.
What do you mean, like venues,
Securitas.
some kind of musical venues,
no, security companies?
I see. Doing some bouncing, or
no? Because I never looked into.
All right,
that.
Dan Strikes. Where'd you find yourself?
So like I said, I couldn't get a bartending job, so I applied to some security places, and I ended up working security.
All right, so you worked a little bit of security jobs, when did you realize, hey, maybe I can get back in the wrestling business? Were you still living in L.A. at the time, or?
Yeah. Because my lease was for 1 year, and around September, I still had my job, but, I didn't really want to stay in L.A. because I was pretty much pissing through my savings because my rent was $650 a month, and I was getting paid $9 an hour.
Yeah, I see.
And, I was like, all right, you know what, this isn't going to work. I'm
No.
going to have to leave here. But I'm like, you know what, before I go home, I don't know. I just had this stupid idea. I'm like, okay, you know what, Kentucky is in between L.A. and Rhode Island, so maybe I'll give this a shot. I'll just stop off there, try it out, then go back home.
No, what exactly in Kentucky that had you interested?
OVW.
OVW, I see. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about your security job a little bit. What kind of security did you do? Was it for concerts or?
No. At first, they put me at a gated community,
A gated community. So pretty much you just sat there all day and
and
let
like
rich
they had a
people
gate.
go into their homes.
Yeah, I saw a couple. I remember I saw Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee came.
I don't
through
believe
once.
that one
No,
second.
they did. They pulled up in a white Range Rover to go with their kids. Dude, I swear to God, with their kids, because a kid that lived there was having a birthday party, and I guess they were friends with them.
I
And
see.
also the singer from Butterfly.
The Butterfly Effect?
That Butterfly
That's a
song.
movie, my friend, not a band.
Crazy Town.
Crazy Train.
Is it crazy?
Oh,
Yeah,
Crazy
Crazy
Train.
It's crazy.
The one with the deer T-shirt,
The deer T-shirt.
not the all tattooed one. The one
You're
with
my
the
butterfly,
deer t-shirt.
baby.
Yeah. Him.
Oh, I
he
see.
lived there. He
Yeah.
drove like a black expedition.
Oh, very nice. But anyways,
But I guess people complained about me, said I wasn't friendly.
You were being very rude to the
I don't know,
celebrities that were trying to
You
get
know what?
into their homes?
I was nice to people at first, but then people just started like being dicks to me. So I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to be nice to these
So
people.
you're like,
They wanna be
yeah,
dicks to
buddy,
me.
go to your house.
Yeah. And then,
Did you get fired or?
Well, people complained about me, so I
So-
got taken off of that site,
Okay.
and then they sent me someplace in Burbank.
What was
kinda
the?
near Jay
You
Leno,
mind me asking what was the complaints?
that I wasn't friendly.
You weren't friendly. Were you being a little creepy, Dan?
No,
What
I
was-
wasn't being creepy.
Were you
Just-
stalking Pamela Anderson?
No,
what
no.
was going on?
Like I tried being friendly, but the people there were just like complete jerks. So I'm just like, whatever. Okay, I'm not going
So
to be
you
nice to you.
you
if
weren't
you're gonna be a
following
dick to me.
Pamela or anything like that.
No,
Nothing
I
like
just saw her
that.
that once. No.
Oh, I see.
But there was a producer there, an English producer who he produced porno videos.
Hey.
His office was there, and I remember like pretty much every day, like these chicks would come in.
You were trying to get himself a little set there, trainee.
Was that one of the auditions, Dan? Was for a porno?
Oh no, it's not.
No, there's no pornos out there that you can find Dan
No,
Strikes
no.
in. Not even as a stunt cocker or
No,
anything
no,
like
no.
that.
You're welcome to look.
Dropping
but-
a hard. That's a soft C, but still.
Well, I figured we're like halfway into the podcast. Little kids would be in bed by now. I can drop a C-bomb here and there. Okay, Dan. So you find yourself in L.A. You're being a security guard. People are complaining about you. You're being a little too creepy for them.
No, I wasn't creepy. I was not friendly.
You were an unfriendly security guard. Like, move it along, people. You just wanted to get your day over with. Okay,
Pretty much,
so
yes.
when did you find yourself, like, striving to be back in that ring?
You know, I wasn't really striving. Like, it wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't have like this burning desire to get
I
back
see.
into wrestling. It was just like. It was pretty much on a whim. Like,
Like, hey,
everything
maybe I
like,
could pick up some chicks if I get back in that ring.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's probably it was. It was just on a whim. Like, that's pretty much all my life is.
You weren't getting
like
enough
a bunch of random
poontang.
events strung together
I see.
with no really meaning. Nothing is really thought
It
through.
just all resolves around the poontang, right? Like, what can get me laid the most? Either I'm a security guard or a professional wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah, because, the bartending thing didn't work, so figure, okay, tried security, and that obviously, chicks don't take security guards.
I believe Trevor Cabral has a question. Trevor?
So, did you acknowledge wrestling at all when you were down in Cali?
No, I had no interest in it
None
whatsoever.
whatsoever.
But I remember I went to this acting class for a little while, and there was this, like, guy from Pennsylvania. He was, like, an amateur bodybuilder. And I remember, like, talking to him once, and like he was talking about how while he was competing he had like been on like done steroids and stuff, and but I wasn't like lifting at all, but I was kind of thinking about going into the whole wrestling thing again, trying it out.
You were
So I
thinking
was-
about going into wrestling, but were you thinking about going into steroids? That's the real question, Dan.
No, I don't think I was. I think I was just like curious about the whole thing.
So that body that I haven't seen pictures of, but I've heard of, that was all natural?
Yes.
All natural, my friend. Can you believe it? I don't know about that, Trini. I don't know if I can believe it.
Dan, you look
Why
like
why
you've done
can you
a
not
cycle-
believe it if you've never seen it?
Maybe a cycle or two. That's all I'm accusing
Why?
you of.
But if you've never seen it, how do you know?
Have I ever seen what? The
You
gas?
said no. You said that I looked.
I've seen some guys shoot up in their day,
No,
man.
but you-
I used to help my friend shoot up right in the asshole, all right?
No.
Which friend, Mac?
I made up that story, Scott Beck. You got me. Dan, I didn't shoot anybody up in the asshole. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I believe that.
My apologies for accusing you. But okay, we find yourself in L.A. You're a security guard. You're realizing, hey, this isn't getting me the poontang I want. Maybe I'll get back into wrestling. Am I correct?
Not exactly, because I was kind of like lost, didn't really know what to do next. I just
see.
knew I couldn't afford to live in LA anymore.
It was a little too expensive for you.
Yes. So I said, you know what, I'm probably gonna have to go home, but you know what, I still have some money.
No,
Maybe I can stop off in Kentucky and give this whole OVW a shot.
Oh, I see. So you took the travel down to Kentucky. Did you drive yourself?
Yes. Yeah, I had a white Dakota pickup truck.
That sounds very nice.
And yeah. So I had that, and then so I just drove down
So
to.
you straight up drove down there. Tell us about that experience. Did you contact anybody at first? I'm sure you sent a few emails before just straight up driving down there.
Yes. I talked to I don't know whoever, and then and they're like, yeah, the beginners. They gave me the info. The beginners class is 1 day a week on Saturday morning, and it's whatever, how much money, $500,000. And I remember Nick Dinsmore, Eugene ran it.
Did he say $500,000?
No, 500 or 1,000. I think it was probably 500.
Either $500 or $1,000. That's
no, yeah, I think it was 500.
all right. So
because it was only one every Saturday for 6 months.
I see. So you took,
and then the advanced class was by invite only.
You took the travel down there, right? You started training with them.
Yes.
Where were you staying? Did you find
I had rented a place in Jeffersonville, Indiana, because you see Louisville is right on the Ohio River, and there's a bridge that goes from Louisville to Jefferson. So I found a place in Jefferson, and I lived
now
there.
The OVW training. How would you compare it to let's say the top rope, the Yankee Pro Wrestling training at the time?
You know what? I would say
more advanced?
No, not at all. I would say it's pretty much the same, just with people that have been on TV. Like they had Mike Mondo was one of the trainers. Eugene, a.k.a. Nick Dinsmore, that was his gimmick down there. Mike Mondo, the big guy from
that was your
Prime
trainer?
Time.
Shad Gaspar?
Is he?
Yeah,
that was his gimmick in OVW, the Beast.
Yeah,
he was one of the trainers. He was a cool guy. And Beth Phoenix, I think, was one of the trainers. And I remember Ivory was there a couple times.
So how often did you train for OVW?
Like I said, it was 1 day a week on Saturday.
1 day a week on Saturday?
Yeah.
But for how long?
6 months.
6 months.
No, but I quit after 4. I just thought it was a joke. I'm like, you know what, dude? This is all politics. They don't give a shit about who can work and who can't. Like, there were guys who were just fat, out of shape, but they kissed ass and, stayed up and swept or whatever the hell they did and was the ring crew, and they looked like complete shit. But they got to work the shows anyway. Like the dark matches, because they had a TV taping every Wednesday for OVW TV. And I guess they had some dark matches, and some of the guys in the beginner's class would work in it, and they looked like total shit. They had like these retarded tattoos and like half grown out hair. They just looked terrible.
Dan Strikes, why didn't you kiss any ass?
I don't know. I'm just not a people person. Like I remember there was one show. They had a beginner show, and they had this, like the deal was whatever student could sell the most tickets could get to wrestle any OVW wrestler he wanted. And there was this guy from the area, and he sold like 35 tickets. So he wrestled Mike Mondo. And I remember this guy, his gimmick was the Shadow. And I remember one of the people that he invited, it was a girl, and I think she like jumped over the railing or something. And Jim Cornette like totally lost his shit and like went out there, and there was like a big melee or whatever. And I remember Cornette, they threw the girl out, and Cornette came in the locker room, and he said to that guy, Shadow, that was his gimmick. He's like, "You tell that bitch, I'll kick her in her fucking cunt." Like he totally lost his shit, and it was like hilarious. And
Dan Strikes.
Yes.
I just want to say, God damn, Dan. Like,
no, I'm quoting him. That's what he said word for word.
I understand that you're quoting him, but that doesn't make it any drop some discretion or something. Maybe like that's some. Oh yeah, are we explicit now? Is that how this works?
Wait, I thought we got a certain amount of F-bombs here.
No, listen, Dan. Why didn't?
Well, you dropped a C bomb. That's a heavy C, Dan.
C is not as bad as F.
No, C is worse than F,
it's
my
not.
friend.
You're out of your mind if you don't think C is worse than F.
No,
dude.
F is the worst.
You're clearly a fool. Hey, if you could look at a mirror, yeah, man, you're out of your mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're crazed. So Jim Cornette says he's gonna F that B in her C,
Kick
J
her in
all
her
over her
C.
T's without all of these things. What happens after that?
I don't know. I think like the show was like kind of stopped for a while, and then whatever it continued because there was like a big melee or whatever, and they ended up kicking her out.
No,
but I remember I had a match. My match was good. I had a tag team match. Me and some other kid. He was from Nashville. He was a good kid. I mean, we were pretty friendly, like during practices and stuff. And I don't know.
Now, Dan Strikes. Dan Strikes. Why didn't you sell any tickets? Why did you try?
I didn't know anybody in the area.
Well, clearly he was in a new
I didn't know
place.
anybody.
He didn't know anybody. So pretty much you went to OVW. Yeah, who did you work?
Like I said, my tag team partner was this kid from Nashville. He was like
All
a
right.
good kid. We were like friendly during practice and stuff, and
God
we
bless
wrestled these two other guys. I remember one. I don't remember who the second guy is, but I remember one guy was like the shits, but he thought he was like so good for some reason. Like I remember we'd have like matches in practice and stuff, and like he'd wear like these cut off T-shirts, and he didn't look good at all, and he was like 5'6", and I remember he like slammed a guy and put his foot on him and flexed, you know, that whole Chris Jericho gimmick. But he looked like terrible, and I remember the guy, what's his name? The cat, Ernie.
Ernest Miller?
Yeah, his.
You don't know
remember
Ernest
the butler?
Miller?
Remember the butler, his like manager type thing with the afro.
Yeah.
He was one of the trainers there, right? Yeah,
I
he was
see.
one of the trainers. He was actually Jack too, and
Now,
he was like critiquing the matches, and the guy did that, you know, that pose, like the Jericho pose, and he's like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Well, you know, I don't know. Chris Jericho does." He's like, "Yeah, he's Chris Jericho, and you're you. You know, don't do that."
Okay, so overall, what would you say your experience of OVW was?
I don't know. I thought it was a joke, just a
So
rip-off.
eventually you just realized that it was all politics.
Yeah.
And who kisses as much ass as possible.
You can't say that he realized that. Maybe he thought.
Yeah, that was my perception.
That was his
but
perception.
a lot of
what
a
was
lot of the
going
guys
on.
that were cool. I remember like pretty much every Saturday, Johnny Nitro at the time. He was Johnny Nitro. He had been on TV a little. He'd go there every Saturday and hang out on the bleachers with Melina. So they were really cool. You know, they'd hang out with us while we were, you know, changing or whatever. And I don't know. There were a couple other people that came and like checked it out. And I remember from that class, it was the guy, the smaller guy from Crime Time. Yeah, he was actually in that class. And I remember seeing him run in the roast, and I'm like, "Wow, this guy's the shits. What's he doing there?" And he actually got signed. And that another guy got signed as a manager. He was there. The guy who said "and," who rolled his R's really long for a long time, man.
Oh, you're talking about...
Armando
Yes,
Alejandro
my
Estrada.
name is Eric Estrada.
Dude, you cannot
Yeah,
roll
he
it.
was from my.
You can't roll your tongue at all, huh? Estrada. That's how you do it, Dan Strikes.
No, I can't.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
No. Yeah, but he was from my class, and I remember they were talking one of the days in the class how he looked like a terrorist.
Yeah.
Like they were busting his balls about that. And he was like, "Hey, you know, that's cool. You know, maybe that's a gimmick. You can make money. You know." And he ended up on TV, not as terrorist, but whatever, a Cuban cigar smoking.
You know you have to talk into the microphone for people to be able to hear
Yes,
you, right?
yes.
And that looking away and keeping the mic.
Well, I was looking at him.
I know what you were doing. I can see you. I just don't understand the process about it. So Dan Strikes, you leave. You quit OVW. You quit Yankee. You went to LA. You quit trying to be an actor. You quit Memphis.
No, I didn't quit. They defaulted, so I didn't have the.
Okay. You quit OVW. You finally head back home.
By the way, before you say anything, you're at OVW. That was your golden ticket to get signed. Eventually, why didn't you stick it out? Why didn't you stick it out, Dan?
You know, like just going down there isn't really a golden ticket because if you recall, Mike Bennett, Guy, Bryce Andrews, they all went down there. No, this was like a couple of years after me.
Well,
but you all know Mike Bennett, and he looks like a star. He's got the body. He's got everything.
He went
the
down
charisma.
there. He stuck it out. He's on TV now. Dan
No,
Strikes.
he
and
did not get signed.
I know he didn't get signed, but he's on TV now. He learned a bunch.
Dan, I think you should have just puckered up your lips and kissed some ass, my friend. That's how you get over.
No. I remember because I
High
remember
spot.
when they came back. No, they came back, and neither of them got signed. But I remember Simon Dean, who was like the talent guy. he was pushing to get Bennett signed. He really liked him, but they never signed Bennett.
Whoever this Dean fellow was,
Simon
you
Dean.
should have kissed his ass.
Nova.
Supernova.
You should have kissed him.
No, he
Supernova
wasn't the
ass,
head
my
trainer
friend.
at the time. He wasn't talent.
All right.
guy.
So you decided that maybe
everything in your life.
Yeah.
you decided that maybe this is not going to work out for you.
Yeah.
You decided to head home, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
I think the common theme is that Dan keeps
Yeah.
quitting randomly. So Dan,
No,
you-
wrestling is a shitty business to be in.
You head
if
back
I can be
home.
frank with you, it's just stupid, is what it is. It's just a bunch of people grow up as marks and then they never grow out of it, and they like it's just a stupid business, like with no payoff, pretty much. It's just I don't know. I know that's bad to say, but no, but. Even still, look at the guys who actually make it on TV. What are they on TV 6 months? Then they're doing indie shows, maybe $1,000 since they've been on TV recently. And then, after they've been, off of TV, like Greg Valentine, 55 years old, making fucking $500 a show.
and you know what, dude? He wrestles for 20 minutes and he makes that $500. How much money do you make in 20 minutes, Dan Strikes?
Yeah, but what does he do that, like twice a week?
That's all he needs to do it.
Yeah, so he makes $1,000
Okay.
cash.
Okay.
Well, I make about that.
$1,000 a week cash.
Take home.
And he has a Dunkin' Donuts hookup. Remember that?
That's right. And so how many hours do you work?
40.
And how many minutes does he work?
Who cares? Yeah, but I think
40.
it's embarrassing. You go from being the WWF tag team champions with Bruce Beefcake. You're like a big star. He was, former Intercontinental champion. Now he's like 50-something years old. Looks like shit, but still working shows because he has to.
What do you mean? How do you know he has to?
Yeah, he does. Yes, he
Wh-
does.
where are you
Who
getting that
does that
assumption from?
for fun? You ever see those old
All of
timers?
us.
They're, like,
Everybody in this
miserable.
room.
They don't want to be there. They don't want to be there. They do it because they have to.
I don't know, man.
Jimmy Snuka, Tito Santana. Why would they embarrass themselves by doing that? No,
How
they
are they
look terrible.
embarrassed? I don't
They
know,
look
man.
terrible. They're out of shape. They're 50-something years old. They're out of shape. They should not be in the ring.
I'm making sure I label this. Dan Strikes hates pro wrestling, and that he hates pro. He thinks most old pro wrestlers hate their lives and embarrass themselves. That's going in the description of this podcast.
I think wrestling definitely ruined my life. I wish I never got involved in it.
But yeah.
When you just quit it a bunch of times,
Yeah,
and you don't wrestle ever.
I shouldn't have gotten involved with it in the first place.
And it'd be different in your life right now.
Be a jacked football player. All right, then. So let's get off the subject about
This
how
is
you.
like not at all like the first one.
Let's get off the subject about how you hate professional wrestling. So you decide that OVW's not for you.
Yeah.
You head home, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what's your living arrangements at the time?
I moved back in with my parents.
All right. So when do you decide?
And how old were you at the time?
2003, 2004, like 23.
Okay, just continue. Just curious.
So you're living with your parents. When do you decide, like, hey, I hate professional wrestling, but maybe I want to get back into it? When does that come about?
When I came back home, it was like around August of
Now, Dan.
2004.
Okay, now, Dan, there has to be something about wrestling that keeps dragging you back in. I don't think you hate it as much as you're saying you do.
No, you know what? Actually, what it was, I came home and I didn't do anything. And I signed up for school for the spring semester, so I started in January. So the end of 2004, I really didn't do anything. Didn't work. And then, so I went back to school. I went to Rick, Rhode Island College. And, I was just going to school full time, and I was in the criminal justice program, and I was doing really well. I had, like a 4.8, well, close to that. Like a really good GPA. But I had nothing really else going on. I had school, and I was like kind of bored. So I'm like, you know what? Like wrestling was kind of fun. I met some cool people.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll
You're talking about the ladies, right?
No,
after
no.
the show.
So I figured I'd go back and give that a shot, like just for fun, just for shits and giggles, nothing serious.
I say.
So I showed up there to the school on Hathaway Road, and I remember I pulled up in the back,
No.
and Brandon Webb was.
What school is this again?
It was
is
Yankee.
Yankee Pro Wrestling once
Yeah,
again.
yeah. So, I didn't call or anything. I just drove down there. And I remember seeing Brandon Webb. Well, he wasn't Brandon Webb. He was the Creeper still.
The Creeps.
And
The
then
creeper.
he like didn't recognize me at all because I had short hair. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? They don't have an auction or whatever the hell they do." And I'm like, "No, I'm here
Yeah.
for the wrestling."
Yeah, I see.
And he's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "You're the creeper, right?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Dan Strikes. I wrestle as." He's like, "Oh yeah, you used to have long hair, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And then Ricard was there and Ryan Drew, and and I think maybe Lexus or whatever, and I just started training then, and I think Spike was like the trainer at that time, even though I had no idea.
Like, I think we glossed over this, but how'd you come about the name Dan Strikes?
You know what? Joe was talking to me. He's like, "Okay, we're getting ready to use you. I think you're ready. What do you think? You have any? We need to get you a gimmick. You have any idea?" And I'm like, "What about Dan?" I don't even know how I came up with this, but I was like, I thought about this I just thought it was a cool name, and I'm like, "What about Dan Strikes?" And Joe's like, "Dan Strikes what?" and I remember Mike, whatever, Stryker was kind of pissed. He's like, "Oh, you're ripping off my gimmick," and I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm
Okay.
like, "No, I'm not." And I'm like, "I don't know. I just thought it was cool," and Joe
So
let me do it.
It pretty much stuck.
Yeah.
Now,
Like,
was
I
that
never had any
was
other
that
gimmick.
has that always been your name? You never had any gimmick? You just said.
No. I remember when I was in OVW, my match, like they let us pick our own names, and I picked. My name was Butch Haynes, and the guy's like. And I remember the guy who ran the show was like, "Oh, you related to Billy Jack?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you fucking asshole." Yeah.
Now, Dan Strikes. Did you ever get to Did you ever work any TV guys in OVW? Did you ever
No, I got trained. No, I just got trained by them. I never
Yeah.
really worked any matches.
I heard you fucked Mickey James.
No. I remember I was in the locker room.
Yeah, tell your story, Dan, because I'm going to talk about how you told a lie last time and made a story up and then told us after the pod. I'm glad that podcast got destroyed and that you're just making shit up on it. I know you're lying to the Matt Cast fans, you crazy bastard. What's wrong with you?
Okay.
Tell your Mickey James story, and then I'm going to tell people what you said the story was.
Okay, so like I said, I had that one match, the beginners class, and we were all sitting in the locker room changing, and I'm sitting right by the door changing, and Mickey James just walks in. This was before, she had just got signed to a developmental deal. She hadn't been on TV yet. She didn't have her boobs yet. She was just like this little skinny wrestler. Yeah, she was flat. And so she just walked into the locker room and turned to me and put out her hand, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Mickey." And I shook her hand. I'm like, "Hi, I'm Dan." And then she just walked out of the room. So I was like, "Oh wow, this chick's hot." And that was pretty much it. At the end of the show, I remember during the show, I was just hanging out behind the curtain, and Matt Morgan was there eating a Subway sandwich.
That's a definite quality to make sure you mention he was eating that Subway sandwich,
Yeah.
Dan.
No, I thought that was weird because he was this big jack dude. I thought he'd be eating a protein shake, and he's. Oh, I have no.
Was it a meatball?
It was a foot long.
It was a
I'm
foot
not
long,
sure
yeah.
what kind it was.
So after the show, Matt Morgan's eating Subway.
No, it was during the show.
Okay.
Because he didn't
Then what
work the
happened?
show.
What
He was just
happened?
there hanging out.
That's the end of the story. That's to the end of your
Yeah,
Mickey
that
James.
was it. That's-
Now tell people what you said last time that
No, I
happened.
don't remember what I
Yes,
said.
you do,
No, I
Dan.
don't.
Do not lie.
Well, if you remember, why don't you?
Because I didn't lie and make the story up
Well,
last
I don't
time,
remember.
Dan.
I did lie. I probably just didn't.
You
plan
talk about how
it.
you
It was-
followed. She said hi to you, and you felt some sort of weird connection, and you followed her back to a locker room, then asked her out on a date or something like that. You made that whole goddamn thing up, Dan Strikes.
That was just a little extra spice that he was adding onto the podcast, but that didn't happen. I was taking a piss, so I don't know what he was talking about.
Stop jumping in, homeboy. I'm trying to chug along here. I've been trying to get into Dan Strikes coming back home and training again, and somehow we keep going back in time. So Dan Strikes, you're home. You're training. Who's running the classes?
I believe it was Spike. And I think Ryan Drew sometimes when
Okay.
he wasn't there. Maybe Nick Steele too. But yeah, the classes, it was pretty small. Not that many people went there. I remember there was this kid, Miles. I remember Eric Dillon mentioned him in his podcast. They called him Gandhi. He was there for a little while. And Leah was there. And Lexus used to go. And Amber and LaToya and Ryan Drew. Gregory Edwards, Nick Steele. I think Huey went sometimes. Yeah, so
Huey.
it wasn't a big group. It was just Buck Nasty went. He was there every week.
Yeah.
So I think every week maybe like I think it was twice a week, and I think maybe like 4 people showed up each time. It wasn't like a big class.
Were you going twice a week?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah.
And how did you feel with the classes coming from just being an OVW now training up here close to home?
You know, I didn't really notice that much different. Like in OVW, I really didn't learn that much because I had already like experience, and like I said, it was a beginner's class. We weren't doing like moonsaults and stuff. You know, it was just but it was just like basic stuff. So, but with Spike, I learned like I don't know, it was training. Like I remember like it was more like psychology that he taught us and stuff, and like I remember like one class we did. Because the classes were so small, we can just pretty much focus. He just asked us, okay, what do you want to work on today? And I remember I was like, hey, let's do Hurricane Ranas. So I remember one class we spent like the whole class doing Hurricane Ranas. I don't know. But like we pretty much, like a lot of it was psychology. Because I remember after New Bedford, we moved to the PAL.
Yeah.
And I remember one of his big things with me was he's like, okay, you know what? You know, you got the look, you got the body, you can do all the moves great. He's like, you just have to, you know, show fire, like know when to fire up. He's like, you're just kind of like the same throughout the entire match, you know. And he's like, you know, matches like, you know, peaks and valleys. You got to know when, you know, to sell and then, you know, to fire up. And then, you know, he said it's like, he said it's like sex, you know, it's got, you know, up and downs and. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess that was my main problem. I was just like the same throughout the whole match. I never like fired up and.
You gotta be fiery, my friend, especially as a babyface.
Yeah.
Did you start working for Top Rope?
Yeah. I started working for Top Rope. I'm not sure if Spike was the booker or for Ryan Drew, because I know I worked for them, like both of those bookers. And I remember with Ryan Drew. He wanted to kind of, I think it was Ryan Drew who was the booker first, and he wanted to get like a new gimmick, like he was going to try to give me a push, and he wanted to make me like the all-American Dan Strikes.
No, wait. Now, how long did you train for before you got your first match?
Back in Top Rope?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think maybe not long, maybe like a couple months, 2-3 months maybe.
So you started training him again for 3 months. You get your first booking. Do you recall what that booking was?
You know, I'm not sure exactly, but one match that stands out, I remember, what's his name was on the show? No, Romeo. From the Heartthrobs.
Okay.
And who was that girl? Talia Madison?
Yes.
Is that her?
Question mark.
Velvet Sky, yeah.
Velvet Sky, okay.
Yeah, she was there. She was on the show. And, no, she just worked the show with Lexus, and they got. I remember Ryan Drew got pissed because like she screwed up the finish. But anyway, I remember.
Do you have any creepy stalking stories about her?
No, not about her. No, but I remember that show. I had a match with Huey McRaw. I don't know. Maybe I think that might have been my first match back. And just as a rib, I went out and Ryan Drew played some stupid Elton John song, you know, as my music.
He got you good.
Yep. And I went out and I worked Huey McGraw, and I remember I had this like terrible sunburn on my back, and it was peeling. I remember like the whole match, Huey was just like raking my back the whole time.
Very nice, just raking that skin
off.
And
And I remember, I think the finish was like a missile drop kick from the top rope, and I like bumped and like landed on the other side.
He
of the...
missile drop kicked you? That is a big man doing a big drop kick.
Yeah, and I went like flying and like.
My question to you, Dan Strikes, is: did you perform any hurricanranas in that match? I know you have been training for it, so did you pull off one?
You know, I think I might have had that match before that whole Hurricane Rana training.
So. Oh, I see. So you didn't have your Hurricane Rana down yet, so
no.
You wasn't sure if you wanted to pull that one off quite yet.
Yeah.
So,
how long was your second Yankee / Top Rope run?
I remember it was around. I don't know. I want to say I started. Maybe 2005, maybe like mid 2005, and then I remember I graduated and I was doing it steadily, and then I graduated from school in May of 2007, and then I got a job.
Criminal justice?
Yes, I got a job at a prison, and I was still doing it, like, here and there because I had, training, whatever, 5 days a week. And then I eventually in November, I got a place with Gregory Edwards and Alex Payne in Fall River. We all, chipped in to get a 3-bedroom.
I see.
And, we were all working shows then and stuff. And I think actually we got it in, like, September, but I didn't move in until November because, I was at the academy.
You have any funny stories to tell about? I'm sure that's a wacky combination of you guys living together. I'm sure there has to be at least one funny story. Because if not, we'll ask Gregory Edwards, and I'm sure he'll come up with some Dan Strike stories. So you might as well.
I was going to say, all the funny stories are all about Dan acting a fool.
Yeah. No, I remember, yes, I almost did get kicked out once of the apartment.
How did that come about, Dan?
I remember it was the Giants-Patriots Super Bowl. And I don't know, I think they had like a punk band on TV or something. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're into that, right? And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, but you're into like punk, like the Stills and stuff.
Was this Gregory Edwards you were talking to?
And his girlfriend was over with her sister. And he's like, no, I don't even listen to them. And then his girlfriend goes, oh, just tell him you do to shut him up. And I jumped up out of my couch and I'm like, off the couch and I'm like, fuck you. I'm like, who the hell are you? and then like,
it's only his girlfriend.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And then I remember like I stood up and
yelled
at
her?
like Teddy. Like, I don't know, I yelled something to him. He's
Were
like,
you-
"Dude."
were you
And
sh-
then Langer stepped up and was like, oh, you can get the fuck out of here right now. And like we had a big argument and I went in my room and just
well, we're gonna have to recap on the GED podcast and make sure this is facts. But
GAD.
were you extreme GED?
Notable moments in top rope in my whatever.
Your second run, yeah.
Second or third
Talk
run, whatever
into
it
the
was.
microphone, Dan.
I remember at first Ryan Drew was the booker, and he wanted to give me a push. He wanted to make me like the all-American Dan Strikes.
Yep, we heard this already.
Make me like a big baby face. And I remember I was supposed to have a match with Rocco Abruzzi, which was more or less supposed to be like a squash match.
Okay.
And Rocco just completely screwed up the match
So-
because he was pissed about having to put me over.
So
I don't know why. He did not look like a wrestler. He was completely out of shape.
Okay.
And Top Rope only used him as a jobber. Like, he wasn't like...
So how did that match go about?
It
Like,
was terrible.
He was not happy, so clearly...
No, it wasn't. Yeah, and then I remember the show, like, after the match, Ryan Drew and Teddy was like, oh, yeah, he totally, screwed up that match. And I was
Okay.
like, yeah, it sucked. And I remember the next show, the PAL the next month, he kind of came up to me and was like, oh, yeah, I apologized, for our match. He's like, I was kind of pissed about having to put you over. I was like, oh, who's this kid? Why do I have to put him over? And, this is just kind of me apologizing for that. I'm sorry about that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And that was it.
You also had a big money program with Paul Lombardi. I watched the match on YouTube. Great match. You looked good, Dan. Tell me about that program.
Longtime friend of ours, Paul Lombardi.
Yes, yeah, he did.
Another top rope guy. We can't have him on the podcast either, can we, Dan?
No, but he was an ACW guy first, right?
He was a PTW guy. No, I don't know, man. I'm just saying, Dan, that's just insanity for you to just randomly think, like, the only people we can have on work in one place. Like,
okay, what top rope guys have you had on so far?
we had
He's not top rope.
just because
What
we
are
haven't
top rope
had a
guys?
top rope guy on yet, Dan. Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand where you're
Believe me, Monster Mac fans and wrestling fans, we got quite the lineup for you guys, no matter what Dan Strike says, all right? We got some good names coming for you. But right now, you're listening to Dan Strike's podcast, and we're going to jump right back into it. Dan Strikes, where do you find yourself? How many times am I going to have to ask you this? So you're working with Paul Lombardi here, longtime friend of the Monster Mac show. What built up to the match, and how did it go?
Well, there wasn't really any build-up. I remember Spike was the booker, and this was all Paul's idea.
Was Paul Lombardi the crazy Bob Backlund type Paul Lombardi at the time?
He was doing like some Middle Eastern
Oh,
gimmick.
so he was doing the Middle
like,
Eastern gimmick at the time. I see.
All that crap.
I see.
No, 1,000.
He put up
And he
$1,000.
came up with this idea. He wanted to do like the Razor Ramon 1, 2, 3 type program where there's like this big upset out of nowhere, and then he like challenges me to another match and puts up money, which didn't make sense to me because it worked for Razor Ramon and 123 Kid.
I see.
Because of the disparity in size. You know, Razor Ramon was this huge guy. 123 was this, you know, little guy, and, you know, he got like a fluke victory. And it didn't make sense to me. Yeah, because Paul embodied.
He wasn't in fantastic shape himself?
No, not really.
No?
No, so it didn't make sense. We were kind of like the same size. Like, there wasn't a big disparity in size, so I didn't see how that would work. But Spike, you know, I guess got behind it, and he's like, okay, we'll do that. So we did our match. I remember Simon Dean was at that match. He had done a seminar the night before, which I did not attend. And he was just there, whatever, critiquing the matches and stuff.
Yeah.
And
So, how many times did you actually work Paul and Body?
it was just
that
that
two
once.
times?
Yeah, we never had.
Oh, so you guys never had the rematch?
No, I don't think we did. I remember the second match. I think maybe he was supposed to beat me or something, but I was supposed. Or,
You weren't having that?
no. I think nobody was supposed to go over, and during the match, I was just supposed to like grab the bag of money, and take off through the crowd.
Very nice.
Is that how it went? 1, 2, 3,
It's all
Kid?
about them Benjamins.
Yeah, so we pretty much ripped off that program, but I don't think the second match ever happened,
All right, so
or maybe it did. I
you're
don't
in
know.
your second run of Yankee Pro Wrestling. Was it Top Rope at the time, or was it still
Yeah, it
Yankee
was Top
Pro?
Rope, and
So-
Ricard was the promoter.
So this is pretty much your first run at Top Rope Promotions. You wrestle Paul and Body. Is there any other memorable moments before leaving Top Rope that you can recall?
I remember Jerry Lynn came down to do a show, and the day before the show, he had a seminar, and a bunch of us, you know, went to and stuff, and that was pretty cool. And then the next night, we had a show at the PAL, and he worked Jay Gillette. And then afterwards, we went to a bar in Fall River. It was like me, Ricard, Jerry Lynn, Gregory Edwards, the Alden brothers, Alex Payne, and we just, you know, were there, whatever, shooting the shit, and that was a pretty good time. But yeah, that was pretty much it.
And then what happened to get you?
Oh yeah. And Mike Sane was there, and I remember we all just sitting at the table, like hanging out, drinking beers, and I was talking to Jerry about like death metal, because I guess he's like really into that, and I'm like, yeah, so what's that about? Is that like Metallica? And he's like, oh no, that's like way harder than Metallica. And we just shooting the shit. And I remember the Alden brothers came up to Jerry, and he's like, can we just get a picture with you, man? We've been, you know, longtime fans or whatever. And Jerry's like, yeah, sure, why not? And then I remember Michael Sane was there, and he just like came up to me shaking his head, and he's like, dude, you either got to be a worker or a mark. He's like, you can't be both. And then yeah, that was pretty much it.
So that's the highlights of your second.
Well, I didn't want to tell that story, but my cousin just told me
He
to.
just
So,
made you tell it.
Yeah, he made me.
So those are your highlights of the. So what happened? What caused you to quit Top Rope again?
Oh, actually, what it was, I started working my job at the prison, and I was on working day shift, 7 to 3, for like maybe 6 months, and then I got reassigned to 3 to 11 shift, so I really couldn't
So
work
pretty
shows
much.
anymore. Yeah.
You had to pick one of another, so you decided to go with your job, which
No, I didn't have a choice. They assigned me to 3
and
to
you
11.
didn't want
I
to
didn't
lose
have
your
a
job
choice.
at the time, so
Yeah.
So pretty much, you ended up leaving Top Rope, and when do you find yourself getting back into wrestling again? What promotions? So you're working your job for a little while. When do you decide to get back in there?
Let me interject here.
Scott, please.
While he was working Top Rope, I'm not sure if you're unhappy there or whatever, I convinced you, I coaxed you into working ACW.
Also,
That-
it was your idea
It was my idea to bring my cousin in because I looked up to him. And
this whole time.
and I convinced him to watch the show. He watched the show, and just like the others that I convinced to work the show, he was one of the first ones, and he worked a show against Sky Jive. Dan, thoughts on that match, and like ACW in general?
Match, I think it went pretty well. You know, I didn't really have any big issues with it. And but I think it was that show where those guys showed up and like demanded to be on the show. And I remember.
Do you know what
Scott
guys
Leve-
this was, Trini? I don't recall.
How do you not remember what guys? It only happened one time.
I know what you're talking about. Okay. We don't have to get into that. Never mind that.
But I remember.
Angel the Icon, JT Dunn, Matt Magnum,
No.
Vinny, right? And who
Wasn't
else?
JT
There's
Dunn?
one more guy.
Mack? No, I didn't know. I remember
Dan, the
Vinny.
microphone.
I remember.
It can
I
only
don't
hear you
remember
when you
JT
talk to
Dunn
it.
and Matt Magnum.
But it's probably because you didn't know them at the time.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, but I
Might
remember.
have
Yeah,
something to
that
do
was the
with
one
it.
show I went to, and I remember Tony was the booker, and like he told me what was going on, and I'm like, "Fuck these guys, dude! You just don't." You know, they can't demand to be on the show if they're not booked. Don't. And he's like, "Oh, they're gonna, threaten to shut us down." I'm like, Fuck
Yeah,
them.
no,
I'm
that's-
like, if
that's
they're
a little
anybody,
silly.
how are they gonna shut us down? If
Did
they're
it-
anybody, they wouldn't be demanding.
Did it have something to do with
on
John
shows.
Cena's dad or something like that? I don't know. I
don't know. I
remember
never
them
heard anything
throwing
about
some
that.
names around, saying they would shut down the show or something like that. Thought it
I
had
don't
something to
think it
do
was
with John
Cena. I
Cena's
think it was-
dad.
was it? I don't know that, but
That was around the time that me and Training Number was exiting ACW. We were still there at the time, but no offense, Dan, but I have no collective memory of you being in ACW. But
no, I just worked that one match.
oh, I see. So you didn't.
Why'd you work that one match? Danny, I brought you in to put you over. We put you over Scotty Jive, a former ACW champion. Bring you in strong. The plan was to build you up to eventually face me, one of the better guys in ACW. Former the best guy in ACW, thank you. And to eventually have a program, but you bounced. Like, was it your job demands?
What
Like,
was
your
it?
schedule? Like,
Did
why
you
didn't
have a
why didn't
personal
you come
issue
back?
with Scotty
You were
Jive?
like, oh, this ACW, these backyarders, they're the shits. I don't want to come back, or was it like your job, and you didn't have that schedule?
Did you not feel the burning
No.
fire inside you to
You know
step
what? I'm
back
not
in the
sure.
ring?
I'm not sure exactly, but I believe it may have been. I think I may have been given an ultimatum because I was still working for Top Rope at the time.
Oh, I see.
And
I
that-
see.
I'm not sure, and I think somebody else from Top Rope like was gonna do a show, like maybe it was Brandon Webb or something, but I don't know. I guess there was heat there with.
So was it?
Jamie the promoter or Dave was still?
So
yeah. So
Dan,
I don't know. Whatever. There was heat between the two promotions.
I see,
And
I
I
see.
think I could. He said I couldn't work both.
So it was either work for ACW or work for Top Rope.
yeah,
What'd you pick?
Top Rope.
So you continued working for Top Rope?
I believe for when was that you brought me in for that match?
06, late 06.
Late 06?
Yeah. So I did get work for Top Rope because I stopped in for Top Rope. I believe beginning in 2008.
Okay, so tell us how that came about. Do you recall your last match?
No, like it happened like abruptly, like it wasn't planned.
So you pretty much was like, I
yeah,
can't
like
do
it
this
wasn't like a
anymore.
big deal. It wasn't like loser leaves town or whatever. It was just like I wrestled. It was like I wrestled a match and then I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I can't work anymore because my work. I have to work 3-11.
I
So
see.
that was it.
So you find yourself leaving Top Rope Promotions at the time. Again, when do you decide, hey, maybe I need to do this whole wrestling thing? How many years was there a large space between it? Or
Yeah, maybe
about
3
3 years, you're saying?
Yeah, it was my. I only came back in because my cousin brought me back.
So
in.
your cousin brings you back in once again. Now, was this for Whaling City Wrestling at the time?
Yes.
So would you like to elaborate on that? Do you recall your first match in Whaling City Wrestling? How did this all come about?
Oh yeah. It actually wasn't a WCW show. It was a Mike Baker show in some baseball field in.
Oh, so you worked the
Bedford.
House of Bricks show.
Yes.
And yeah, they're bringing a lot of fans too. A lot of wild little
But it
kids.
was like a quick deal. It was like that guy Colossus worked it. And what was it, a run-in or like a 3-versus-1 match?
So
And I was one of the 3, and we just pretty much all got choke slammed, and that
yeah.
was it.
So, but you haven't wrestled in like 3 years. You were saying when you got into that ring and you did that little spot. Did you feel like, hey, maybe I can get back into this business and start working a few matches?
No.
Did that fire light up
No.
inside you?
I think I actually only came back because my cousin talked me into it. He's like, no,
So
but he
some
didn't talk me into it.
Strong convincing.
No.
You're like, come on.
He was just like,
Dan.
you know what? We've always, been into wrestling. We,
You didn't bring me up into Top Rope, so I'm going to try to bring you up.
No,
and
no,
keep
no,
your
not at all,
career
not at all.
going.
He's just like, you know what? We've both been wrestling, different promotions, at the same promotions, but different times.
I see.
Because he worked Top Rope after me. And he's like, I've always wanted, to work you. And like do a program with you, and I was like, you know what, yeah, I'd really like to work with you too, and that was really the only reason I came back was to, you know, to work with my cousin. That was it.
So I don't know how many people know this or who doesn't, but you guys actually worked the convict gimmicks for a little while, and you met John Muldoon. Tell me how that came about.
Well, the whole convict gimmick, it was actually all Scott Levesque's idea. I remember we were at a PLW show at some festival.
I see.
And like we all had separate matches. I worked David Baker.
As Dan Strikes?
Yes, and but he didn't work as Dave Baker. He worked like some
Was he
Japanese gimmick
He
under
was
a
under a
hood.
mask, I see.
And he worked Scott Levesque worked some English guy, and I'm not sure what John Callahan did. Yeah, he won the PLW World Championship.
Very nice.
And John Callahan, I'm not sure what he was doing something.
Was he a surfer? I know he plays a surfer once
I'm not
in a
sure if he
while.
was a surfer. I think he might have been in his cop outfit.
Okay.
Because I remember Scott Levesque, talked to him, I don't know, during the show at some point. He's like, hey, I have this idea, for a convict gimmick, and I was thinking maybe
he does
you can
the whole
do it.
cop
Yeah,
gimmick.
he does the whole cop gimmick.
I see.
And so I guess he just, pitched it to him, and John, was all about it, and then I think he told me, like, afterwards, like, oh, you want to do this? And I
So
was like, yeah,
Scott
okay.
Levesque pretty much worked out a
that
spot.
that was completely his brainchild.
I'm sure he was living his dream of tag teaming with his cousin. I'm sure he's always wanted to do that.
Yeah, obviously.
So you guys geared up. You guys play the convicts. Have you done any jail time? I'm not sure how the whole convict thing works.
No.
No
Neither of us
official
have,
jail
no.
time. So you guys are playing convicts. You're in WCW. How's your time getting in the ring with your cousin?
Yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. Probably the best time working with him. Probably the best time I've had.
You worked with Team Mack Attack a little bit.
Yeah.
We had a few matches.
Yeah. Not bad.
So, pretty much, you did the whole convict thing. You had a good time. I want to ask you, Dan, when can the WCW fans see Dan Strikes again?
Soon, very soon.
So you're actually planning a comeback?
Yes. The date's not set in stone, but yes, it will be very soon.
So the people can expect Dan Strikes in that ring once again?
Dan, we worked in Allentown, Pennsylvania, for the Samoans. Samu, a former WWF Tag Team Champion. Any highlights of that match?
I'm guessing that hookup came from Scott Levesque.
No. Wasn't from Scott Levesque. Muldoon. Yeah, because Muldoon used to work with...
Which came from Scott Levesque.
Yeah, the gimmick.
I see.
Right? Yeah. So we went down there, and it was a pretty good show, right? It was at a high school auditorium, and yeah, maybe 300 people in the house. And we worked some young team from New York, some young kids. And yeah, I think it went pretty well. Did we go over? I don't know who went over. Did we go over? Yeah. So we had a pretty good match, and that was it. And we were supposed to go back up for another. Like, they were supposed to have a tag team tournament, but I guess we got knocked off because they wanted to go with Slick Wagner Brown and Bobby Ocean. Yeah. So that was it. Yeah. So that was the one time we worked for them up in Pennsylvania. It was a good time, the road trip.
Yeah. Do you enjoy working as a tag team more than a singles wrestler, or
No.
prefer singles
Yeah,
matches?
I prefer single. I look forward to having a feud with Scott Levesque. That's definitely
Still currently, that's still on the.
yeah, that will be coming soon.
Where are you going to be looking to do that?
WCW and Showcase.
Anywhere,
Wherever,
basically.
anywhere.
Speaking of Showcase,
I just want to get my hands on
You're
going to
make your big return to Showcase after Chris Blackhawk broke your plastic cup and you threw a tantrum.
Yes. No, but actually before, that was the breaking point. The first thing that happened was Tony no-showed for a match. Scott Levesque no-showed for a match, and I had to wrestle twice.
Okay.
But I only got paid for wrestling once.
Yeah.
So he pretty much made money off of me because the money he was supposed to pay Scott Levesque, he didn't pay me. He only paid me for wrestling once.
Now, may I add that plastic cup was a gift from his ex-girlfriend. He was very disturbed at the time. I was there. It was a very traumatic situation that happened. So I think he has every right to leave Showcase Pro Wrestling.
Now, Dan, Levesque took off. He's in the other room. I don't know if you guys Are there any other stories that you'd like to tell? Anything that you'd like to talk about to get out there?
I'm not sure. We tagged for a while. I think we actually only had one.
I'm not
match.
even talking about about the tag. I'm just talking about your wrestling career in general. Any stories that you didn't get to tell that you want to tell? Or,
About my cousin and me?
no, about Dan, about your wrestling career, my friend.
No, not really. I think my career has been pretty uneventful.
Yeah. So you just been standing around.
Yeah, just
But
I don't know,
it's-
just trying to have good matches and have
No,
fun. That's pretty
No,
much
it's,
it.
It's not. I don't want to disappoint the fans or anything. It's not quite over yet,
No,
right,
it's not.
Dan?
No, there should be a feud coming up with me and my cousin, hopefully, and I think that will be a good time. I'm
So,
looking
like,
forward to that.
the fans should expect a Dan Strikes return.
Yes, and I'm coming out because
Talking to the microphone, Dan.
yeah, well, Scott Levesque is one of the top guys in WCW, and I'm looking to take over his spot. So he'll be seeing me in the
You
near
should just
future.
hit him right now. He's sitting right on the side of you, laughing. He's not even paying. Hit him right in the face, Dan. It's
Well, the belt is not on the line in this log cabin.
No, I
right?
want it to be legit in the
I
ring,
See, I see.
legal.
So pretty much, after it's all said and done, have you always had I don't want to say this dream, but have you always wished you could step in the ring with your cousin and have an official match? The eighth time is that?
Well, I've always looked forward to working with him in the ring. I've always wanted to, but I think it's more or less more of his dream than mine. I think he's always
'Cause
wanted to get.
He's
in
the
ring
one
with
that
me.
wants to be like
Yeah.
you, right?
I think I've always kind of been his mentor, and he's always looked up to me. And so,
Trevor,
yeah,
you have a
I'm sure he's
question?
looking forward to that.
Dan Strikes. Now that Scott Levesque has passed the torch, of being a convict, how does it feel to be a main convict now? How does it feel to be in that position?
Not a convict anymore.
Boom.
Actually, no.
Knowledge dropped on Trevor Carell. Now, my question is, you say that you were Scott Levesque's mentor.
Yeah.
When did the transition happen where he became the better wrestler?
I don't think that's ever happened. I don't know. You guys might say that. But I still don't believe to this day that he's better.
Really? You don't think so?
No, I don't.
I think you're the only one.
I don't think so.
He does hold the championship right now. I just gotta
So
remind
what does
you
that have to do with
that.
anything? No, I haven't. I'm sorry. I don't.
You are
Booker's asses.
He is the
I don't
champion. Oh man, he is the
I
champion.
don't know,
and-
dude. I was working top rope while you were working backyard promotions.
I believe.
But Dan, what does that have to do with right now?
I don't know. I still feel like I'm in better shape than him. I don't
But
know.
what
I
does that
still
have to
feel
do
like I'm
with-
the better worker.
How many names, former WF names, have you wrestled?
What does that have to do with anything? Who gives a shit?
Let me list mine. It's for my own ego. Former world champion Raven, I've wrestled.
Yeah, who you marked out for when you first started? You ripped off his gimmick.
Okay, that's besides the point. Spike Dudley, I've wrestled. Your trainer, have you wrestled Spike Dudley?
No, not an actual match, but he gave
In
me a
training,
push.
you've wrestled Spike in trainings. Yeah,
Yeah, and
no,
he gave me a push while he was the booker.
I understand that.
Wait, how did
Dangerous-
you wrestle Spike for top rope
Yes, I have.
in a
Top
tag
rope.
match?
Yeah.
Who's his partner?
It was right over there. Me choking Spike on the picture on my wall right there.
Wow,
Dangerous
you're pretty
Danny
much a mark
Davis.
for yourself. You have your own picture in your own home.
Dangerous Danny Davis. Rick Fuller, WCW jobber.
I worked Rick Fuller.
Elaborate on Rick Fuller.
No, I just worked with them twice, and
He chopped the shit out of you, didn't he?
yeah, he did.
Right.
But I remember actually before our first match at the PALs with Top Rope, he showed up to a training. This was when we were still training in New Bedford, and I remember the training session was over, and everyone had gotten out of the ring, and I saw him lacing up his boots and everything, and I was the last one in the ring, and I was like, oh shit, I want to hurry up and get out of here
Yeah.
because he's gonna want to
Run some
whatever,
spots
work
with you.
yeah, run some spots with me. And then so I hurried up and got out of the ring. He's like, "Hey, kid." He's like, "You want to run some spots?" And I'm like, yeah, okay."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, so what do you got? What do you want to do?" And he's like, just not like big guy, little guy spots, just
Yeah.
same size spots or whatever. So I don't know. I just came up with some spots that we ran. And he's like, "Hey," he's like, "When did you get good?" I'm like, I don't know. I've always been kind of good. And yeah, so we just ran a bunch of spots, and he got this idea for like a new move, like I don't know the name of it. When you have the guy's legs here, you're holding him up like this, and then you slam him down. What do you call that?
For the people that can't
legs like
see
there.
Dan Strike,
He
it's
goes
called the
like that.
Alabama Slam.
Alabama Slam.
Yeah, the Alabama Slam.
The
I remember he wanted to start using that.
The professional Dan Strikes over here, the top of his game, doesn't know what an Alabama Slam
I'm
is.
sorry,
called.
I'm not a Bob Holly mark.
What is it? See, you knew it was Bob Holly. How did you know it was a Bob Holly move?
Because the Alabama, I know he's from Alabama.
So he's the only... Dan Strikes, you're a crazy man.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
anyway, yeah, he wanted to start using this move. He hadn't used it yet. And I remember he used it on me like 4 times.
So he
and like my
slammed-
head like
slammed
snapped
the
against
shit out of
cam-
ya.
Yeah. And I was just like all out of it. And he's like, hey, let's try that again. And I think he like tried another move after that. I don't know if
Okay.
it was like a choke slam or whatever. So I
So-
was just like, oh God, please let this end.
Dan,
And
did
a
that
couple weeks later,
eventually?
we had a
so-
match.
So that eventually led into the match. Tell us
Yeah.
about that match.
Nothing. It was just a squash.
Was it for
He chopped the shit out of
Top
me.
Rope
and-
Promotions?
Yeah, it was top rope, and he
All right.
just. I have pictures of it, and he just chopped the shit out of me.
Well,
And he choked
Scott Levesque?
Just comparing and contrasting. You've had 2 matches with Rick Fuller. Were they both squashes?
Yes.
Yes. I've also had 2 matches with Rick Fuller. One was a squash. The other was a 50-50 With Rick-
50-50.
with Rick Fuller. So, along with Danny Davis, Spike Dudley, Tony Mamaluke, I've wrestled.
Oh, he was on ECW TV once.
ECW Tag
Mama
Team
Luke is the
Champion.
man, all right?
Tony Mamaluke was on ECW way more than one time.
No, but his first match, he like fucked up every spot. He did like the springboard moonsault. He was on pay-per-views. Yeah.
All right, so
Tony Mamaluke, World Champion Raven. I've wrestled Slick Wagner Brown, Eddie Edwards, countless others. Former PLW World Champion, regional champion, Whaling City Wrestling Champion, Eddie
Now,
Ryan.
I just gotta
the English kid that you brought up.
I just gotta let you fans know, you WCW fans out there, I believe this feud just turned into a blood feud.
It's
Not
brewing,
only
man.
they
It's
are they
brewing.
related, but there's some serious heat going on right now.
Like,
you fans definitely want to check this one out.
The previous podcast, you mentioned like our tag experience. You mentioned me as a Nazi
Oh,
as far as calling matches.
Yes. Well, I don't mean Nazi as much as dictator. I think
I think
that
there's-
word just kind of escaped me at the time. But the thing was, with all of
I remember him saying
yes,
Nazi.
because he would always call all of my matches. He never let me get a spot
No,
in.
I'm
He'd
just
call
trying
every
to
spot.
structure
and-
your match a little bit, Dan.
What's that?
Nothing wrong with that. Just a little bit of structure.
Yeah, I mean the matches would have been great if we were in 1985. But I think my spots were kind of like a little more
Up to date. Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
But like I said, he was a dictator, and he wanted to call all the spots, and I'm like, hey, what if we do this? And he's like, no, we'll do this, and like I never really got a say in it.
Well, I just want to let you know, Dan. Now, I am highly anticipating your return. Dan Strikes returning to WCW
Okay.
Whaling City Wrestling.
So how about this? Our first 2 matches, I'll let him call the first one, and I'll call the second one, and we'll see which match is better.
We'll see
How
what
about that?
happens. But you heard it here on the Mack cast. It's going to be quite the blood feud going on. I really personally can't wait. And if you're on Scott Levesque's side, good for you guys. But if you're on Dan Strike's side, you can pick up a Dan Strikes t-shirt.
I'm wearing my Team Levesque shirt right now. I got a Team Levesque shirt.
But it should be an awesome one. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening to Dan Strikes, getting to know him a little better for his return to Whaling City Wrestling. And I just want to say
And
thank you guys
let me just
very
put it out
much.
there that there are some Dan Strikes T-shirts out there going.
Available, only
Yes,
$25
available.
for
No,
a Dan
$12.
Strikes.
$12 for a Dan Strikes
Not
T-shirt.
as good as the Monster Mac prices we got out there, but that's not bad for...
It's not bad. You could buy a Dan Strikes t-shirt, or you could buy a Monster Mac t-shirt, get a poster, a sticker, a handshake, and maybe even a DVD for $12. I don't know.
We do combo deals, my friends. We'll work something out with you.
It's called undercutting, Mac. We undercut the indie prices.
Undercutters. But Dan Strikes, we would like to thank you for being on our podcast and just telling a few stories, having a good time, having a few French wine, a few glasses of French wine. Well, Dan, thank you very, very much for being on you. I'm Monster Mac. I would like to thank Scott Levesque for hosting this Mac cast in his lovely log cabin. I would like to thank Trevor Cabral for coming back from Florida very much. And I would like to thank Training Number One for sitting on the side of me, conducting this podcast with me. And I would like to thank you Monster Mac fans and you wrestling fans for listening to the podcast. We got one last question from Scott Levesque. Take it away, Scott.
Danny, you think you're the man. You think you're the man. You've traveled all over the world. Across the nation.
Are we doing promos? Is that what's going on here?
I'm kind of promo. Danny, you think you're the man because you've traveled to Memphis Championship Wrestling.
And quit.
And quit. You've traveled to OVW and quit.
And quit.
You've traveled to L.A. Didn't even look up the L.A. promotions.
Only got one casting call back.
That made John Cena. That made Samoa Joe. But you didn't even make
Chris
any
Daniels,
calls to freaking Rich Bassman, the promoter in L.A. You think you're the man? Prove it. Prove it, Dan. Come on, make yourself. Wrestle me. Anytime, anywhere, any promotion that I work. I'm a former TRP tag team champion. I'm a former first ever Whaling City Wrestling heavyweight champion. I'm a current 2-time PLW champion. Prove it, man. You think you're the best? You think you're better than me? Prove it.
Big fucking deal. You might be big in New England,
Here we
but
go.
if you're such a great wrestler, then why haven't you ventured out? Why haven't you gone to OVW since? I mean, you've always been a bigger mark than me. I mean, I pretty much lost interest, and you've kind of been like, gung-ho about the whole wrestling thing all these years. How come, you never went out there, put yourself out there, and, took a shot at it?
And we're going to cut you off right there, Dan Strikes. If you guys want to see it, we'll bring it to you. Whaling City Wrestling, Dan Strikes versus Scott Levesque. We'll see what happens in the ring. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Monster Mac.
I'm Training Number One. Don't forget to go to the MackCast.com and MonsterMac.net. Available on iTunes and Stitcher. Everybody, have a good night. Dude, Scott Levesque says.